Adjourned. Senator Kaine.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks to our witnesses for your service. Happy birthday to the Army family. I look forward to celebrating at Fort Gregg Adams a week from tomorrow in the Petersburg area near where I live. I'm looking forward to that. Secretary Driscoll, you were here for your confirmation hearing on January 30, and I was not in a good mood that day, and it didn't have anything to do with you. The night before, I had been alerted about the crash at Reagan National, 67 lives lost earlier that morning. I had gone out to the scene to interact with the Secretary of Transportation and airport officials. We know a lot more today than we knew then. The NTSB did an interim report that they released in March, and they frankly pointed out a lot of flaws. There were flaws on the Army side in terms of some of the broadcasting equipment on the Black Hawk not being turned on during that flight, and problems with some of the routes, particularly in the congested airspace. There were serious problems on the air traffic control side. There was a real shortage of folks in the tower that day. Normally there would be one person handling the incoming jets and somebody else dealing with the helos. One person was doing both of those jobs when that crash occurred. Major problems with the FAA. In the decade before this crash, there had been hundreds of near misses between helos and passenger jets logged into the FAA, but the FAA had apparently done nothing with that information to try to solve or prevent an accident of the kind that occurred. And we got to be honest, Congress has not helped this situation either. Shortly before that crash, months before that crash, Congress voted to add more flights into an over-congested airport over the significant objections of the Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority, which is appointed by Congress to run these airports. And they had told us, this is a disaster waiting to happen. Please don't add more flights in. Congress chose to do so anyway. And it's my hope that we will have learned the lesson and not repeat that. The interim report in March of the NTSB is going to be followed up by a final report, or at least a more comprehensive report, we think, at the end of the month of July. But I just want to reflect back on you. The 67 families, the memory of the 67 and their families, they're looking for answers. And when they watch a hearing and they hear a question about it, as was directed by Senator Reid, and the answer is, you know, there's an investigation ongoing and there's litigation, I'm going to tell you what they hear. What they hear when they hear that answer is minimizing liability is more important than our suffering. Minimizing liability is more important than making sure this doesn't happen again to other families. I've done a lot of disaster response as a mayor and governor, and I've had a lot of lawyers tell me, well, you can't really give answers because if you do, you know, somebody might file a lawsuit against you. We owe it to the memory of the 67 and to their families for them to be completely confident that we are overturning every last stone and making every last fix to minimize the chance this will ever happen again. And right now, I will say I've interacted with the families a lot, and I'll echo what Senator Reid said. They frankly feel that American Airlines has been pretty solicitous towards them. They feel like the Commerce Committee in the Senate has been pretty solicitous towards them. They don't really feel like the Army has been solicitous towards them, have really sat down and heard their questions. And there's some that maybe can't be answered because the investigation is not yet complete, but they don't really feel that they're being listened to. And I think that's an important thing that I would just put to you, that, you know, I think you have taken steps. I've met with the Army as recently as yesterday to talk about steps that have been taken with respect to new protocols about having the ASB system generally turned on, and if it's not going to be turned on, there's kind of an important protocol you go through to make sure that you can have that turned off for sensitive missions without jeopardizing others. You've made some positive changes. You've made changes to the helicopter routes in the area, you know, this national capital region. That's really important. But I don't necessarily think some of the public is aware of the changes that have been made. There was a recent incident in early May where a helo passenger jet interaction caused the air traffic tower to ask the jets to do a go-around because of a helo that was landing at the Pentagon. That's not necessarily a bad thing. That was out of an abundance of caution. But when things like that get reported in the paper, and I frankly think there was some of the reporting was a little bit inaccurate, when they get reported in the paper, you know, it's not to our benefit. So what I would encourage you to do, share to the greatest degree possible with the families and with the public what the Army has already done, because I think you've taken some positive steps. And then just try to maintain as close a dialogue as you can, not only with the families of the 3 Army aviators who died, but with the families of the 64 who lost lives on the passenger jet that day. Thank you. I yield back.
Thank you, Senator.